As we all know, there is never a dull moment in college football, especially this season. And just when you thought you've seen it all, we're going to kick things off with a major developing story coming out of UNLV. Matthew Sluka, UNLV's starting quarterback, announced via social media that he will not play any more games this season, citing certain representations that were not upheld by the program. Despite transferring in the offseason, Sluka will now utilize his redshirt status this year. The Rebels are currently undefeated and considered Group of 5 playoff contenders. Now, this is what Sluka said on social media, quote, "I committed to UNLV based on certain representations that were made to me, which were not upheld after I enrolled. Despite discussions, it became clear these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season and hope for the continued success of the program." So, Pete Thamel, we're going to bring you in on this. What's the latest you can tell us about this developing story?
Well, Victoria, it's a really fascinating moment in time for college athletics, and it's a little peek into the Byzantine way that these college athletes are paid through the current NCAA system. So I was told this morning by Matthew Sluka's agent, Marcus Cromartie of Equity Sports, that Sluka agreed to go to UNLV because of a $100,000 verbal offer from a UNLV assistant coach. Now, that's a pretty standard offer for a quarterback of his caliber at a Group of 5 school. It's nothing outlandish. And Cromartie was clear to tell me that Sluka had much bigger offers at bigger schools, but they chose UNLV from the situation. So the story goes, as Sluka said in his tweet, he did not start to get payments on what he was expected. Now, that offer was never formalized through UNLV's collective. A representative of that collective told our Dan Murphy today that he never saw this deal, essentially, that this $100,000 was only done verbally, and that's where the ambiguity around this lies. And so there was a conversation between the UNLV coaching staff and Sluka this week. He wanted the money that was verbally promised. They, at the highest levels, did not authorize that money to be delivered. Sluka's dad told our Adam Rittenberg that Barry Odom, the head coach at UNLV, said, "Look, Brendan Marion, the OC, was not authorized to make the offer to Matthew Sluka." So here we are, and the result is pretty simple. Sluka is going to redshirt. He's going to work out with a quarterback trainer this fall. And he's going to transfer to another school come December. He'll have a full spring, which he did not have transferring from Holy Cross this year because he graduated. And with that full spring, he will be somebody else's starting quarterback, very likely come next fall. UNLV, 3-0, plays Syracuse in one of the bigger games in modern school history this weekend, is going to look to Haj Malik Williams, a Campbell transfer, to start at quarterback.
Of course, they've been having an incredible season so far. Now, this, Pete, is the first time we're seeing this, but probably not the last. Are you anticipating any changes to be made overall in this space?
So what I would say, Victoria, is this is the first time we've seen this public, right? He said, she said over NIL payment. There have been whispers since NIL started over unfulfilled payments and people leaving for different reasons. This is the first time it was put out in a very linear and clear fashion. We were verbally, and I stress verbally, promised this. We didn't get it, and so we're going to leave. On Thursday, coincidentally, decades of NCAA inertia come under review again in the settlement of the House case. That's the multi-billion-dollar case that could transform how college sports works, and most importantly, how money is distributed to athletes. They would obviously allow a revenue share where schools could pay athletes directly. Right now, part of the issue is the collectives are third parties paying these players without the coach's approval, hence disconnects like today.
And those lines keep getting a little blurred. All right, let's bring in Sam and Lugs in this discussion. Now, Lugs, from a team perspective, how does this affect them?
Well, obviously, you've taken the most important player in the sport off the field of a football team that looks like they're the front runner for possible inclusion into the college football playoff. And listen, maybe this is a get off my lawn statement, but I feel like we went to an extreme here. Was there not something that could be worked through while Matt Sluka does what he does best, and that's play football and try to win football games? If I'm one of his teammates right now, obviously I'm very, very frustrated. But this is what happens in the transfer portal era. If you bring in hired mercenaries and things don't go right, what is their allegiance and their loyalty to the program or to their teammates? There really isn't any. He came into school in July. So for me, this is a much broader mess that has devalued the worth of a scholarship, who in their right mind agrees to terms without something in writing? I think Marcus Cromartie, how do you do this deal and you haven't talked to UNLV's collective? You haven't confirmed anything in writing? That's poor representation, in my opinion, looking at it from this perspective. So this is just a bigger mess, and it will not be the last time we see this, y'all.
And part of the issue, too, is the fact that a player wants to go and play for a coach, and a coach is making promises, and a coach may be making promises that they may not be able to uphold. So the player is not going to go to a coach and say, well, hey, I need this in writing. They just want to go and play. And so that's why you see certain misrepresentations like this happen. Now, from the team perspective, I think there's two pieces. One, there's a piece of, hey, this is our starting quarterback. This is the reason we're 3-0. He's been doing it in the air, doing it on the ground, right? Critical situations. That's one piece. The second piece is also the next man up mentality. Even, go back to the time in the NFL that I played. It's always about the next man up. And so let's say Matthew Sluka would have had an injury. It would be the next man up. Let's say he would have been suspended for some reason. It'd be the next man up. And so this UNLV team is going to have to overcome a lot, not only because Matthew Sluka was the most important player on their team, but he's one of the best players on the field, and that's the reason why they're having so much success. And so, yes, that miscommunication led by misrepresentation, but it has to be that next man up mentality.